Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by TaylorMade.
This week, Brooks Koepka makes his second start since he had another layoff due to injury, trying to give his knee and ultimately hip some proper time to rehab. In his last and only start this new season, he finished tied 28th at the CJ Cup. That marked his third best finish on the PGA Tour since the beginning of last season. So for more on the journey that he has been on recently, let's get you back out to Memorial Park Golf Club and welcome in Lisa Cornwell. Lisa?
Yeah, Cara, you know, while the rest of the world has struggled with COVID-19 in 2020, that hasn't been the problem for Brooks Koepka on the golf course. You think about it, no wins worldwide for the very first time in his professional career. And as you mentioned, you can blame that left hip injury on exactly that. The good thing is we spoke to him today, and he talked about being physically ready and very confident of what's ahead.
You can't judge a player when they're hurt. And I've been pretty bad this year. So it's one of those things where, you know, at the PGA, even though I was struggling through it, my body just wouldn't allow me. I mean, I was right there. Come Sunday, just my body wasn't going to hold up. And it's unfortunate. But, you know, now it's in a position where everything feels good, everything feels solid, and I can actually do what I want to do. I can finally hit the shots that I want to hit. I can hit draws, high draws, low fades, whatever. I feel like I can actually shape the ball. And definitely a lot more confidence now that I can get on my left side. I feel better than I did even 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever I did at Vegas. So that's behind me now. I feel as good as ever. And, you know, just go out and play.
This will be a good test for the former world number one. He is well aware of the challenges this golf course presents, and he should be. A couple of years ago, enlisted by the great Tom Doak to help him with the renovation here at Memorial Park. He talked about all of the shots that this golf course will require, and he's really looking forward not to just prepping for Augusta National, but see what he can do on something that he helped create.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, Tom obviously, I think, did a great job with this place. It's, you know, from the moment we kind of sat down at Floridian to kind of discuss some things and what I thought, you know, would be good in a golf course. And he had his ideas and I had mine, and then combined them, and this is what you get. And I think anytime you can play a hand in having some opinion on a course that we're going to play out here, I think it's unique. It doesn't happen very often, and it's been cool just to see it evolve. I know this golf course is quite difficult. It's quite long. You'll see some high numbers, especially if the wind gets up. But I mean, it kind of resembles a little bit of a U.S. Open, I think. Some people would say, which I feel like I've done pretty good at.
You think that last part sounded a little bit confident? He certainly does have confidence in those type of golf courses. Brooks talked about the importance of the driver, and I can tell you, Cara, walking around here, you can see this Bermuda. It's starting to get those dead patches, and so when you miss the fairways, it's really going to sit down and pay attention to the green complexes. It's tricky. A lot of runoff areas. You better hit it in the right spots, because these things, they're firm, fast, rolling over 13 on the stimp, and they have a ton of movement. Sounds like it's right up Trip Eisenhower's alley.
We'll get to him in a minute, but it sounds like a good time to tell you about our course conditions, brought to you by the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. It is Memorial Park Golf Course this week, as we have alluded to. The first time in 57 years the Houston Open has been back here. Bermuda throughout, really, and just last year was when Brooks was involved in that renovation with Tom Doak and Jeffrey Franklin, the superintendent, who we will, I'm sure, be applauding after watching the best players in the world work their way around this track this week. So Trip Eisenhower, it's kind of interesting when you think about the fact that this is not necessarily a new golf course. It did host the Houston Open from 1951 through 1963, but it has been, as I said, 57 years since the Houston Open has been played there. We just heard from Brooks Koepka. Given that there have been a lot of changes since all that time ago when we last witnessed it in action, what do you think will be the most standout features?
Well, one, you're going to have to hit it in the fairway, and it is long. It's 7,400 yards. It can be stretched to, but if you take a look at a couple of the characteristics that the players are going to be facing, as Lisa alluded to, these greens, Tom Doak, he took a lot of these bunkers out. In fact, he got it down to about less than 2 dozen bunkers. So there's a lot of grass collection areas. There's a lot of runoff and a lot of movement in these greens. Now, they average about 7,000 square feet, but with this movement in the greens, it makes them play technically to areas of it, much like you have to do next week at Augusta National. And if we take a look at one of the biggest things, I think, the greens are definitely fast, but there you can see golf balls disappear. And as Lisa said as well, this time of year, that Bermuda grass is starting to really thin out, so it's going to sit down. It's not going to sit up. It's going to be very rare to find a ball on this type of Bermuda grass this time of year that doesn't find its way to the bottom. So hitting out of that rough to these type greens this fast and the runoffs, you're going to have a lot of very difficult up and downs if you're not finding fairways. So I would never rule out somebody with a hot putter, but I would definitely look for somebody that's going to be hitting it in the short grass majority of the time this week.
Do you think Brooks Koepka can be a favorite given his input on the golf course?
I like what he said. Look, getting to his left side is exactly it. He couldn't do it for 2 reasons last season, his knee and then his hip. So he was not even ever getting over there. He didn't feel like he could cover the ball. He was hanging back and saving things with his hands. So that's a very difficult way to play golf, and you start missing it both ways, which he did. So I think him being able to get on top of the golf ball again, that he mentioned, covering it, getting to his left side, is really going to help his shot making, which is one of his strengths that he did not have in 2020.
It is interesting that this is the second consecutive year that the Houston Open has been played in this portion of the year, the kind of autumn-fall time season. It has typically always been the week before the Masters, and
it is before
would you believe it? We have a November Masters, and it is the week before the Masters once again.